Hello, I'm Penny Thornton and welcome to my astrology channel. Now, normally every week I take a look at what's going on the following week. I have a look at the alignments and look at them in global terms and personal terms, sun sign terms, but I'm not going to do that this week. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at astrology and romance, astrology and love. And the reason I decided to do that this week is because Valentine's Day is coming up and it seemed like a good time to explore relationships. Now, I think astrology and relationships are a marriage made in heaven. You can understand so much about the dynamics between two people when you look at their astrology. Now, of course, what you really need is two charts, and you can start to look very specifically at all the different kind of areas of the charts and how they bounce off one on the other. But what I want to be able to do in this video today is give you a very broad outline so that even if you know nothing about astrology except your sun sign, you've got a good basis for understanding a lot more about relationship dynamics. Now, the first thing I want to say about astrology and relationships is that what you will never find in astrology and horoscopes is the magic, is the chemistry. That's sort of outside, it's beyond the brief of a horoscope. It won't show you that. What horoscopes will show you is the lines of communication, the strengths, the weaknesses, and you'll get a good picture of a relationship through the astrology. And of course, once you know that, it really will help you through the jungle of relationships. You won't be going in blind. And, all relationships are difficult. We have times in relationships where everything is going well and it's just easy and effortless. But then we're always going to run up into a wall at some point where there's going to be upsets and differences of opinion. And that is the nature of relationships. And I think we make a big mistake if we expect relationships to be perfect. If we know relationships are going to be difficult, we're already primed for it. And it's just a complete bonus when everything goes so well and we feel easy and happy with our partner. There's also that idea that we're not perfect people. Neither you nor me, we're not perfect. I know that's a shock, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? Not perfect. So how we can expect the people we connect with and get involved with, marry, live with, to be perfect doesn't happen. But that's the beauty of a relationship, because relationships are there for us to find ourselves in, to realize who we are. And I often say, I was a little quote that I really like about the partner. If the partner could speak, I am your mirror. Come, look at me. I'll show you who you are. And that's a really good way of looking at partnerships. It's a good way of looking at what the partner is in terms of the dynamic between you. And it's healthy to look at relationships like this. Now, having said that, so many things that I have to preface this with. I hear a lot. I hear people say, oh, I don't get on with Cancerians. Oh, I don't get on with Librans. Well, maybe you don't get on, but that isn't a reason for you to pile all Librans and all Cancerians into one big pot and say, no, you don't like any of them. And there is a trend, I know, in some dating sites and on dating groups that you can exclude a sign that you think you don't like. Now, that's a terrible mistake because, of course, you're only looking at one part of a much more complex picture. What a sun sign is rather like a nationality. We have a nationality. We were born in Italy, so we're Italian. We're born in Britain, so we're British. And we do share some national characteristics, the famous, stiff upper lip of the British. And we think about Australians who are so laid back. And so we have this idea of what all Australians are like, or all Brits, or whatever. But of course, if we threw out on our list of I won't have Australians and I won't have British, you are denying yourself the potential to meet someone who is your true love. Now, the sun sign, as I said, is like having your brand. You share those qualities with a 12th of the population, and they're a good guideline. They have something to say about you, and they are important in that context, but it is only part of the picture. I think what may be valid in the idea of why you don't get on with certain signs, and you say to yourself, oh, I'm never going out with another Leo, is because of where your Saturn is. The sign your Saturn is in, if somebody's sun comes and connects with your Saturn, that's going to be an uncomfortable link. Why? Because Saturn represents our fears. It's where we're weak in life. It's the things we don't handle well, the things about ourselves we don't like very much. So if somebody's sun comes and sits on our Saturn, it's just pressing our buttons all the time, and it's not really a very happy experience. So that's one thing we need to bear in mind. But even so, having said that, it's such an opportunity, somebody who connects with our Saturn, for us to embrace our Saturn, to really strengthen our weaknesses and not to fear the things that, are out of our control or not easy for us to deal with. That partner is our means of embracing that. So you see a very important aspect of why we say we don't like something, but in fact it may be good for us. It's a medicine that's good for us. So using the idea of sun signs, because that's what I'm going to stick with today, there is a very easy way of sort of saying to yourself, I'm good with these signs. These signs are good for me. And they're going to be different from the signs you think you're good with. What I'm going to do is to break down the zodiac really into elements and qualities, or elements and modalities. And we're going to be looking at the modalities, the groups, the 3 groups of modalities, because that's where you're likely to find your partner, or where the strengths in your horoscope are going to be. That's the bond that you have. The modalities are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And the elements are fire, earth, air, and water, very familiar territory. Now, the modality can be seen as a family. They're a group of 4 signs. They're like a blood bond. The characteristics, the fundamental feeling of those groups of signs is your bonding like glue material. The fact that you're different elements is the little spritz of difference in it, which makes for not exactly the magic in a relationship, but makes for the necessary spark that you need. You need to think of the elements as vital forces or energetic principles, and the modalities as vehicles or means through which those vital forces, those energetic principles, are expressed. So let me deal with those groups straight off the bat. Let's look at the cardinal group. The cardinal group includes Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. These 4 signs belong to a family of cardinals. And the cardinals are self-motivated, ambitious, they have leadership potential, and they're goal-oriented. They like to have goals. So even though Aries is fire, Cancer is water, Libra is air, and Capricorn is earth, they are united and bonded in their family by that principle. When we come to the fixed signs, what are the qualities of the fixed signs? They like control. They require boundaries. They don't like change. Well, change that's thrust upon them. It's all right if the fixed signs can get behind their own change. They are the choreographer of their own change, but they don't like it being foisted on them. So this is what these signs have in common. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. You belong to the family of fixed signs. It's like a family. You belong. And finally, we come to the mutables. The mutable family includes Gemini and Sagittarius, and Pisces and Virgo. And the qualities of the mutable signs are that they're equivocal. They like to be open-ended. They're dispersive, and they like open borders. So that set of qualities unites this group of signs, even though they're a different element, each of them. Now, within that grouping, when we look at those groups of 4, there are 2 combinations that are much easier and to be recommended. And there are 2 others that are a little bit more difficult. So let me explain how this works. Again, let's refer back to our element balance. Let's look at the cardinal signs, and we think about Aries and Libra. These are opposite signs. Aries is fire and Libra is air, and these are compatible elements. Air fans the flames of fire, making it spread and heat up and be as fiery as it can be. Whereas what fire does for an air sign is that it warms it. It gives it passion, which air needs. So it's a perfect arrangement. So in this cardinal group, you have Aries with Libra. In the fixed group, the same exchange goes on with Leo and Aquarius. And in the mutable group, you have Sagittarius with Gemini. These are mutual give and take. It's an easy combination. Now, also in this group, or in each group, you have another set of oppositions. In the cardinal group, you have Cancer and Capricorn, water and earth. So why is this such a good combination? Well, think for a moment about water, which will go everywhere. It runs everywhere. And what happens is that earth contains it and supports it and gives it shape. So that's a mutual arrangement between water and earth. And you think then of water to earth. Water nourishes the earth, so that what you get there is growth and nourishment, feeling. That's why that exchange, that opposition within that cardinal setup is a plus plus. If you're with your opposite sign in these groups, then you've got a head start in the relationship stakes. Now, also with earth and water, when it comes to the fixed signs, we've got Taurus with Scorpio, same arrangement. And in the mutable signs, we have Pisces with Virgo. It's a beautiful exchange of elements. And now we'll come to the more difficult combinations. But you know, in life, the more difficult combinations, maybe they're more challenging, but you know, sometimes they're the best. The more difficult combinations within the modality groups are as follows. When we look at the cardinal group, we have Aries with Cancer and Capricorn. So that means what you're dealing with is a fire sign with an earth sign and a water sign. So why is fire and water, for instance, a difficult combination? Well, just think what fire does to water. You put fire under water, it creates steam, it evaporates, there's nothing there. And when you put water with fire, water puts out the fire. Again, that's why these elements aren't really compatible. So when we look at the cardinal signs there, fire and water, we have Aries with Cancer. When we look at the fixed, we have Leo with Scorpio. And when we look at the mutables, we've got Sagittarius with Pisces. That fire-water combination, I actually call that combination steam heat. That's what you get. So when you now look at fire with earth, same sort of principle, really. We have earth putting out the fire. How many times have you had a fire and you picked up a spade and poured, dirt on it? just puts out the fire. And the same thing with fire on the earth. Fire will scorch the earth. That's why these are incompatible elements. So you look at Aries with Capricorn, and then you look at Taurus with Leo, and finally you look at within the mutable signs, you look at Virgo with Sagittarius. That's a fire earth combination. I call that combination, by the way, the road roller, because when you think about what a road roller does, it's really on the earth, it's moving, it certainly goes places because that's the nature of earth, to get somewhere. But you've also got that quality really of fire driving it, that it's resisting all the time. It's like you've got the accelerator pressed hard down and the handbrake on. So but that gives tension in a relationship when you're working with incompatible elements in the same family of modalities. You've got that innate tension which creates a spark and really provides interest and dynamism in the relationship. When we come to air and earth, if you think about those elements and why they don't work very well together, think about what air does when it's really blowing. It's going to blow on the earth. It's going to scatter the earth. It's going to really turn the earth into dust. So I call this combination a dust storm. And when you get to air with earth, you've got Libra with Capricorn. You've got, in the fixed signs, you've got Aquarius with Taurus. And in the mutable signs, you've got Gemini, air, with Virgo, earth. And so that's that kind of dust storm combination. Finally, we come to air and water. And again, really the same principle as you look at the air on the earth creating dust, ridding the earth of its solidity and sending it into a million pieces. When you've got air with water, you've got huge storms. You've got what I call the water spout combination. You've got the clouds, the air coming down into the water, scooping up the water, and it's a really powerful, kind of rather destructive mix. But again, what is difficult and what has potential friction in it is also an attractive component in a relationship. What I want to sort of kind of move on to is, although I'm emphasizing the idea that if you work within your modality group, you've got a real bonding, and you may be surprised at how many times you've fallen for those signs, whether they're compatible supposedly or incompatible. The problem and the trick with a relationship is, because very often that different element for you is one that you're a little bit weak on, while it's initially very attractive, over a period of time, it can be something which you reject. What initially attracts repels, so that what initially was so wonderful and exciting and different becomes something you'd rather be without. So what really needs to happen is that you need to embrace that element you don't have, or the element that you're with in your partner. You need to, for instance, if you're a fire sign and you're with an earth sign, you need to embrace that ability to be solid and firm and to come to the end of something and make something that's a construction, and be patient and long-suffering with it. So you can see how this dynamic works in all sorts of relationships. So I really think I have to come to the end of my relationship matches. It's a complicated subject in astrology. I mean, I've written books on it: Synastry, the Astrology of Relationships, and Romancing the Stars, Divine Encounters. 3 big books I've written about relationships, and it's a technique in itself. But there's very, very simple understanding of how you are attracted and feel bonded with your modality, with your family of signs, is such a principle that I prove time and time again. And provided you're working within that framework, you're going to have a sense of connection with that person. So I'm going to leave that for now. We shall most certainly revisit relationships as we go on through the weeks. And I'll make kind of special. I mean, there are such interesting things like what's happening in the seventh house of a chart. Does the partner fit into that? How is the similar pattern that you have in your chart being now reflected by a partner with a similar pattern? It's for you to work and resolve your difficult patterns. There's a lot to talk about. But at least I hope I've given you something to work on for this Valentine's Day. Have a great Valentine's Day, or if you think it's all, over commercialized now and you couldn't care less, you're right. There are 365 days left in the year to have a celebration of love. So why just keep it to one day? So bye for now. I look forward to seeing you, same place next week. In the meantime, take care.